Can you hear? Oh.
Oh, here you are, Jim. You timed that well. If the listeners knew what we just went through,
we live.
We're live, mate.
Nice.
Yeah, we are
live and kicking.
Fucking hell!
That was intense.
So waiting an hour
before we get into what we've just had to go through to get this thing done. I have to honestly, Tank. So I'm going to revisit what Jimmy was just telling me there. Jim, do you mind if I put this out into the world?
Nah,
He's not happy with it. He's not happy with it, is he?
What?
So Jimmy just said to me, whilst we were waiting for Tank's computer to sort, that he
you asked me a question.
Yeah, I said, who's your celebrity crush?
Yeah.
And who's your celebrity crush?
Kate Beckinsale.
Okay. And what was the next statement that you made?
I said, I genuinely believe people. I genuinely believe if I got an evening with Kate Beckinsale, a bit of dinner and wine at like a charity dinner or something, when she's on the same table, I genuinely think I could get her to fall in love with me.
You did not say fall in love.
No, but my wife listens sometimes. So, I genuinely think I could bang her.
Wow. That is an unbelievable
wait, like a bat or your willy? Because you ain't banging her with your willy.
Both, lad.
For those
you have to bang her with a bat before you do the willy.
Mate, if she's banging Pete Davidson, like, I've got a chance, lad.
Yeah, I don't know what he seems to have the hoodoo over the women. What do they call it? Big dick energy. Big dick energy.
Big energy, nice lad. Just does what he does, like me.
Just like you, lad. Tank, how are you, mate?
Oh, got a degree in computers, haven't I?
So for those listening, right? So Tank. So we've been doing this podcast for years, right? And we used to have a nightmare every single episode. Tank has many strengths. Technology is not one of them. So we finally got his tech setup sorted. You basically were able to sit down on your at your desk and it would never break. Everything was working up until today. It wasn't working. We couldn't fix it. We were looking at YouTube. We're trying to get everything sorted. And then magically, Tank clicked onto his mobile, signed in to the chat, and for some reason that made the chat then appear on
two
desktop.
Tanks.
So we actually had two Tanks chatting to us.
Jamie, but you know what, mate? I have no idea what's popping up on my computer now. There's stuff coming up and I'm just pushing cancel. A helper tool is needed. I thought that was Jimmy. Is that what we call Jimmy? A helper tool?
Let me tell the listeners
to manage your games.
The stuff of nightmares having. The stuff of nightmares having two pictures of Tank.
But you're all good, mate. Anyway, you're here now. That's the main thing.
Yeah. Thank God.
It was a fun day in the Rogers household yesterday. Jack, I think went to penalties. Did he? Who were they playing? What was the game like?
Cracking game. To be honest, he started the sub and he was extremely disappointed, and I was, because the kid's been flying.
Who's this for? What age group's this now?
The U team, the 18s. But he's been doing really well. He's had his injury problems, but he started the sub and he shouldn't have, to be honest with you. He brought him on about, I think, 65 minutes or something. He's done really well. Good game. I've got to say, good game. Bit of needle in it. Bit of a few little tackles and squared and up to each other, and a good two good sides. Norwich with a good. They had a fantastic young left winger, really talented kid. We went 1-1, 1-1, got it back. The kid got brought down for a penalty. The young lads for Norwich, the little winger scored. Went to penalties. Norwich missed the first two penalties. Then Burnley had a penalty to win it. Hit the crossbar. Norwich scored. Another penalty winner. Hit the crossbar. Norwich scored. Back to 3-3. And you're like, oh my God. And then Jack had a penalty to make it 5-4. And yeah,
be honest, how were you feeling when he walked up? How were you feeling?
You know, it was a shit pen.
Was it?
He doesn't like pens. He's got a great strike on him with both people. Even when he was like, I used to coach him in under 8s and that. He used to go with pens.
Really?
And I'm just like, just strike it. And it was one of the worst strikes I've ever seen. And I'll have to watch it back on Huddle because I don't know how it went in because the keeper saved it. All their lads were cheating. And then the keeper's rolled round and it's gone on the back of the net. And I was like, what the fuck, Jack, like that? And then went like that. I mean, I sent you boys the video like it did. You know, it was brilliant.
Oh, it's class.
Brilliant.
Proper celebrations. And Jim,
yeah,
you're sick as a dog, mate. Are you okay?
Mate, I've been ill. Like,
good job you haven't got that date with Kate Beckinsale.
I know this is it. Well, it might go in my favour. I've got that pale Pete Davidson look going on at the minute. I've not eaten for 4 days. It's been awful.
I appreciate the Christmas decorations in the back, though, and you just
mate,
add in that little cough. It's like when you say to your kids, you're like, oh, you know, you're well enough to go to school today, and they always go, I don't know, Dad, I don't know.
Stole that out my son's bedroom, that Christmas tree.
No, I appreciate it, mate. It looks great. Football, lads, because I don't know about you, right? The World Cup is over. I have been dying to talk about that game because it was genuinely unbelievable as a spectacle. Like, we'll come on to it in terms of where that ranks in terms of being the best, but it's certainly up there. Tank, first and foremost, you know, the World Cup, as I said, it is over. We weren't massively supportive of the World Cup, but what a way to finish it, mate. What a game that was.
Unbelievable. For me, that's the best game I've ever seen.
I was going to say, where does it rank for you?
Yeah, I think it's got to be, just for the scale of the game. And will he, won't he win it? Will he, won't he be the greatest? Is the young pretender going to come up? It had everything for me. Absolutely everything. A little bit of skullduggery from the shithouse keeper, who's a bit of a cunt, but I love it. It just had everything, didn't it? You know, it had... You thought Argentina were going to run away with it. I mean, for 80 minutes, France was shocking, really. They were in the game, and then Mbappe decides, I'm going to have a go here. And it had everything. The extra time was brilliant. You know, chances where Martinez made a save with his leg, and then they go down the other end, and he should have scored the header. And then the penalties. For me, the best game of football I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Yeah, I had this debate, and Jamie, it'd be good for you, because emotion aside, I guess, I had this battle of Istanbul versus this one, and obviously I was more emotionally invested in Istanbul, but I think Tank mentions a couple of things there in terms of the spectacle, the storylines around this game. You know, it be obviously the Messi story, Mbappe, you know, the young pretender, as Tank perfectly put it. There was so much that happened in the biggest stage in the world, biggest game in the world. Is it the best for you?
No, and the only reason it's not is because it was so one-sided up until 80 minutes. Like, I nearly switched off because France were awful.
You nearly switched off.
Obviously, I didn't nearly switch off. It was a turn of phrase. But my point was, I was bored. I was because I was again. Okay, I'll give more context. I wanted France to win, so. Because France were losing, they were awful. Dembele was playing for Argentina, super agent, and it was just fucking. My head was gone, and I was like, "This is shit." Like, Argentina are going to win, and then from 70 minutes on, I was like, "Oh my god, this is one of the best games ever!" Like, it was unbelievable. World Cup final, pitch was a bit bobbly, and for two teams to pull that out in 20 minutes extra time, and then for them penalties, it was great to watch after that point. And don't get me wrong, it was great to watch before, but because I wanted France to win, that was probably why it soured it for me up until that point. But it's certainly a very, very close game, but no game will ever beat them Newcastle-Liverpool games for me, ever.
I was going to say then, what's your best? You think they're the best?
Yeah. And 4-3.
They were great, but there was nothing on them, was there?
No, okay, I get it. I'll give you that.
This is the. I'll tell you the other thing what made it for me, Jimmy. It was the bollocks of Deschamps. I thought, when he took the subs off, you were like, "What the fuck?" You know,
mate, I said, "Get off." I said, "Get Dembele off." He was awful. He was fucking. He didn't need to make that tackle. He got absolutely skinned. Like was kept getting skinned. For him to get dragged off. I'm so pleased he did it because he was fucking garbage. Whereas Southgate would have left him on till 90+1, as you said.
Do you know what though, Tank? Looking at that from a player's perspective, because, and I'm like you, I think I tweeted it at the time. Like, I had such respect for him doing that because, look, it could have went one of two ways, but France were markedly better after those changes. I thought the subs come on and were excellent. They looked a completely different team, to be fair. But what I don't want to say normal manager, but most managers to not ruffle feathers I think there was only 5 minutes left on the clock. They could have quite easily, he could have
Wait
sat
till
there and went, wait till half time, hook him off, give him a bollocking. But he wanted to make the point that this was not acceptable. And he was prepared to ultimately, like from a player's perspective, potentially fall out, lose trust, lose faith in a manager if they do that to you. But he didn't care. That must have been a real wrench for those players. That's embarrassing, getting brought off before half-time in a World Cup final.
I just think it sets a fucking tone up for me, because if you're a player and your manager's like, listen,
if you're not doing it,
you're fucking not on it, get off. It doesn't matter what minute it is, you're off. I mean, Dembele, as Jimmy said there, he was shocking. He's a strange player for me. He's either brilliant or woeful. There's no like 6 or 7 out of 10. It's either an 8 or a 9 out of 10 or a 2. And just the fact that, I don't know, me as a player to be like, you can't dip under his levels, this manager's levels or standards, because if you do, it doesn't matter what time the game it is, who you are, what stature of player you are, you're fucking coming off.
It's going to hurt for Dembele. It's going to hurt. But surely he knows how bad he was, and he goes, fair play.
You a player, don't you? You know when you've had to. I mean, Jimmy, you more than anyone, you've had more.
Of course, I'll make
than ever. So you know, but
9
you know
games
when
out of 10, lad. 9 games out of 10.
Jim,
you know, don't you?
You would not have responded well to getting hooked.
No, I wouldn't. Of course, you wouldn't. But and it's always hindsight, and it's an old age where looking back, you'll probably go, yeah, actually, I was shit. But you've got to be reflective. You've gone off at fucking 2-0 down, come back, and when you're off, it's been more. And he's going to be, from a pride point of view, but his career's not over. You know, he's still fairly young, Dembele, so he'll play another World Cup, and he'll be able to put his rights and his wrongs. But he's got to know as a player that he wasn't on it.
Someone that was on it, or well, I mean, where'd you start with Messi? And I'm going to come back to you in a minute, Jim, because you've been pulling up some mad stats this week about Messi and Mbappe, so we'll talk about that in a minute. I'm not over some of the things. I didn't know what your angle was, so I want you to explain on the podcast.
I'll explain it, yeah.
Okay, good. Tank, where do we start with Lionel Messi, mate? Because it's funny. The perfect example was my son was involved in a World Cup sweepstake through his footy team, and he actually had France. And he turned around to me before the game started and went, I know I've got France, Dad, but I want Messi to win. And that, I feel like that's a consistent theme for football fans, is that everybody was rooting for Messi because of the player that he's been. Where do you rank these achievements now? Do you know what? Something that's annoyed me in the build-up to this is the idea that if Messi wins this game, that will make him the best player ever. I don't think it can be defined on the winning or losing of this game. I think he already was anyway, in my opinion. Where do you sit on that whole debate?
We've said it many times on the podcast. For me, he's not just the best. He's the best by a long distance. You know, you don't hit the numbers what he does for this. It's the longevity as well, and you know. You can have players who have 2 or 3, 4 good seasons, but he's been doing. I've watched. Have you seen his thing on BBC iPlayer, the Messi thing?
Yeah.
You know, he's been doing this since he was 17 for Barcelona. You know, he was the man at 18 for Barcelona when you had Ronaldinho, and when you listen to Iniesta and you listen to Xavi in them interviews, and they're kind of like saying we were trying to nurture him to say to him, you know, we know how good you are. This is at 18. Now, these players are elite of the elite. Iniesta and Xavi, like, will you get 2 better midfielders, really, in football? And they're nurturing him to make sure that he's right and he feels comfortable because they know what they've got. He's been the best player for bordering on close to 20 years. Every single season, top goal scorer, the top assist, winning trophies, winning everything. The World Cup just tops it and ends the debate fully for the people who are not as clued up as me, anyway. But he's been the best player in the world, and he's the best player that's ever lived, in my opinion. And I can't see anybody ever getting anywhere near the levels of what he's done or what he's achieved ever.
And you know, Zach, there's one thing. If you know me, I'm a big fan of The Athletic now. I know I've told you both that, but I was reading this article on The Athletic, and it was brilliant. It was talking about his use of space. I don't know if you picked up on it, because, you know, he's getting old now. He can't run around. People have been talking about the way Messi walks, but I was reading this article and they're basically saying it's probably a little bit that he's not going to leg around as much, but also he's looking at the patterns of play. And let's say, for example, the play will move in one direction. there's been loads of examples where he's moved in the opposite direction to the way that the rest of the players have gone, because he'll pick up the pockets of space for when the ball breaks down. You're looking at how smart he is as a footballer. Is there a chance that maybe this isn't his last World Cup?
I think he goes on. I mean, there's a lot of talk coming up now, and they're saying that he, no matter what, he'll lead the team out in the next World Cup. So, when you've got someone who can just turn a game with it, I know he doesn't run around, but I think he got 7 goals and 6 assists. I wouldn't give a fuck if he just stood wherever he wanted to and just sat in the stand and just walked on the pitch when he was ready to get involved. You let him do what he needs to do, because at the end of the day, he wins trophies for players. If you're that to Paul, who I've never seen a player work as hard as him, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
He is an absolute
He's an
monster.
absolute dog. And he just the best type of dog ever.
He is. But the thing about him, he will know what type of player he is. He would never be able to win these big trophies or the big stages unless he does the work he does to allow a genius to do his work. And you'd sacrifice that. So he knows if I do all of his work, he will win me a World Cup medal. That's a Paul and all of the players that go down as absolute legends in Argentina. And it's because they've done the dog's bollocks work for the genius to do what he does.
Dog's bollocks work.
Yeah.
Argentina.
Argentina, yeah. Jim, what's your thoughts on Messi? Because you have gone down in podcast folklore with some of your shouts. Are you prepared to retract some of your stuff? Because literally, mate, how old's Messi now? Is he 36?
35, I think.
35. The goal against Croatia, I think it was, where they literally showed him down the line. He done the lad. He twisted, he turned, he cut it back. So, yeah,
I genuinely didn't think that goal was that great, if I'm being honest. I thought he did a couple of turns and the defender's been absolutely left. But in fair, if I'm Messi, I retire now. I retire now and just end on that note, because he's not getting any better. He's done everything he needs to do.
Retire fully or just for the international team?
I mean, okay, if he doesn't, retire fully for me personally.
I'm with Jimmy on that. That was my thought. I said that to our Jack. He should just say to PSG, do you know what?
I've completed it.
I've had enough now. Like, he's done. I don't need to do anything else. Now, he probably still loves the game, and that's fine. And he might carry on playing. And, don't forget Maradona retired and came back for USA 94 and made an absolute show of himself. Like, and that still goes on in people's minds. I'm not saying that Messi will do the same, but it can happen. So if I'm him, I'm retire. From his point of view, he's certainly up there with he's gone one better than Ronaldo for me. Whether he's the world's greatest, the only thing that I can't get past is that he's played for 16 years for the best team in world football, which is fine. Look, you play for your team and you score your goals and you do everything. If he'd gone whereas the only thing where I'm thinking is Maradona went to Napoli and took a garbage team and dragged him to the Serie A title twice, I think. And that's the only thing that
is Maradona your one, Jim?
I think he's gone to my one at the minute, I think he's gone there. He wasn't originally. It was Ronaldo, Messi. But I never really contemplated Maradona. And then I did a bit of research, and the stuff he did, mate, at Napoli. There's a reason why he's got a statue there. And he was only there for like 2 or 3 seasons, remember. Was unbelievable. So I think if Messi just did something along them lines where he went to a different league, okay, he's gone to France, but we know it's not the strongest league. I think if he came to the Prem and had a couple of seasons in the Prem and did it, there'd be no question whatsoever. It's just that he had that comfort blanket of Busquets, Iniesta, Xavi, and I just can't get past that.
Do you know what's funny?
It's just a tiny little niggle in my mind.
Do you know what's funny? My mate Jamie Brennan sent me a video the other day, and it was of Pele, right? And it got me thinking, right? Pele was doing all the tricks that you see. Did you see it? And look, these tricks have different names now, so I'm not even going to embarrass me. Elasticos and all these types of stuff. But Pele was doing all of what's deemed the modern day skills when he didn't have YouTube to go on or examples of players doing it all around the world. He's playing on shit pitches. And that did open my, because I had this little negative view of Pele in the back of my head because he counts goals he scored at lunchtime in school as in his career's record. But you think of that, and then you think of Maradona. You said it yourself, Jim. It's an access thing. It's not like you just haven't had the access to what they've done. But if you look at the context around Maradona, also as well,
I saw a video.
Used to get battered. Like,
that's what I was going to say, mate. Kicked in the head, like tackles flying in his head.
Yeah, so it's definitely like, look,
it's on not shit pitches, by the way, shit pitches.
Did you ever see the video of him? I think he was warming up a keeper, or he was doing shots for the keeper, and the pitch is like,
down.
It's horrendous. But look, I just feel privileged, and it was actually my son. And bear in mind, he's 10 years of age. He said to me, "Sometimes, Dad, do you ever feel like football is scripted?" And that felt like one of those games. It was meant to happen. You mentioned it there, Tank, about the shithousery of the goalkeeper Martinez.
Brilliant.
I love shithousery, but I don't know what it is about that fella. I find him really annoying.
Yeah,
I find him really annoying. I didn't know, like, his stupid celebration, his Alan Partridge, dad dancing. I can deal with that. I don't know. The way he acts, even in the dressing room, some of the songs he's been singing, all seems a little bit try-hard, like he's a sandwich short of a picnic, that fella.
Yeah. Do you know what he is? He's the Argentinian Jordan Pickford. He's just a bit of a fucking strap-on. Yeah. He's a bit of an idiot. Jamie, can I just go back 1 second about Maradona? He was at Napoli for 7 years.
Was it 7?
And scored 81 goals. So, listen, that man was a genius, don't get me wrong, but he can't even enter the same bracket as Messi.
Yeah, but Napoli weren't at Barcelona at that time.
But he was at Barcelona. He played 38 games, scored 22 goals. He's got one goal every 3 games for Argentina. And by the way, he did play in some unbelievable Argentina teams, Maradona, by the way. He had some proper players around him as well. And I just look at his whole career, 491 games, 259 goals. Messi's got 1,000 games and 800 goals. He's won everything. I just don't... Listen, Maradona, for me, he was an idol for me growing up as well. I loved him. But it's not even... I don't get how this can be a debate. You put the two of the stats together, and Jimmy's a stat man. You put Messi and Maradona's stats together, and it's like, if you didn't know the name, you'd be like, well, fucking hell, how's this even a debate? No, this lad's got 800 goals, he won everything.
To play devil's advocate, do you see where Jimmy's coming from in this the idea he's always played in a brilliant
his personal
Barcelona
opinion, though, isn't it? If Messi had done what Maradona did in another league, it would be no contest whatsoever. And it's
but at the time, the Liga, you had Real Madrid who was spending, obviously. I mean, you could go on. You could go to Seville. When he left Napoli, he went to Seville. He scored 5 goals in 26 games.
Right, and obviously he had his. I'm not saying that, but my point is Maradona won a World Cup single-handedly in 82, was it, or 86 that we beat us? He won trophies. He did it
I'm
all.
not sitting here saying Maradona because look, I see stuff on clips from you like, oh, it's unbelievable. But I just think, just put into perspective and I know, it's all right, but sitting here saying that Messi played in better teams, he did, but he was also like streets ahead of all of these world class players. And when you listen to them, they're like, well, listen, Rio Ferdinand on that thing said, you can't stop him. He said, like, we'll do this. But he said, then all of a sudden, he's jumped 8 foot in the air and put one in the top corner with me head. You can't stop him.
Yeah.
Sure, so sorry about that. Anyway, Jimmy loves a stat, and I got some fucking stats there. Right into me.
But then, if you're saying that, then you can agree with me about Zidane. Then
no.
Why? You literally just pulled up the stats.
I've never sat here and said Zidane is in my top 4 or 5 in the world.
Zidane's stats are worse than that.
He might have you here, Tank.
Well, he's not, because I've not put Zidane in a pedestal, but he's saying Maradona's better than Messi. So I've not come in and said Zidane is above Maradona.
In your top 5?
He's not in my top 5, Zidane. My top 5 was Messi.
So he's a myth.
Messi, the real Ronaldo.
Zidane is a myth. Say it,
mate.
Who's your 5, Tank? Who's your 5?
It's got a bit for me. It was Messi, the real Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Ronaldinho, Ronaldo.
Don't say it because he's a myth.
I feel like Zidane might have crept in there, to be honest.
Zidane wasn't in my top 5 as world players. I put Thierry Henry in play. I put Suarez ahead of Zidane. I mean, fucking Suarez stats are
so say then, Tank. All you got to do is say it, and I'll agree with you on Messi and Maradona.
Suarez as 5, actually.
Say Zidane is a myth,
and
I'll agree with you on Messi and Maradona.
Zidane's a phenomenal player.
He's a great player.
Won a World Cup on his own.
Not on his own. He had a fairly decent team.
Stand out, won he?
But say he was a myth.
Never fucking a myth. Absolute genius of a footballer.
Talking of myths, or actually not myths, just
sorry,
pricks.
Jamie. I've fucking gone off on your thingy. You get us back on track.
No worries. That's what I'm here for. I like it when you two go off piste. Talking of myth, well, I was going to say myths, but it's not a myth. Just an idiot. Can someone explain to me why Salt Bay was on? You know that fella who
mates with Infantino.
Well, that explains a lot too. Absolute helmet. What is he doing? Did you see the state of Messi's face, Tank, when he was trying to grab him for a photo? Yeah. Why is Salt Bay on the pitch trying to get a photo with Messi when he's just won the World Cup?
It's ridiculous, isn't it? And did you see the man you sent to that? He looked. It was on Twitter. He looked like he was going to kill him. He was like, and he's going like that to the World Cup.
Just everything that's wrong with the World Cup. What is going on? But where do you sit, Jim, on the robe issue? Because I'll give you my 2 pence worth. It really annoyed me more than it should have, because I just think you think back of to the iconic photos, these big moments etched in history, and I just feel like he should be able to see his country's colours. Country's colours, the crest, be surrounded by his teammates who are wearing the same stuff, but he's there in a cape. I don't know. It didn't sit well. Apologies if I offended anyone by calling it a cape.
Look, I'm sure I saw an article. I didn't read it, but they were trying to defend it in like giving what this robe's meaning was and how important it is. But surely Messi should be given a choice of whether he puts on this robe or not, because he's the only one wearing it. Everyone else is in their country's colours. Probably the only time that he's going to lift the World Cup, and the pictures are forever going to be mate. I'd be paying Photoshoppers or straight away, like,
get rid of that robe.
Like, can you sort me out?
Yeah, very awkward between that, and then you could see Infantino like just kept like molesting Messi, like trying to get in the photos and stuff. It was just, that was the only thing, bit of a sour taste looking at that. But
I don't think the robe's that bad.
Really didn't bother you?
No, because it's like a cultural thing. Like this is what
I get it.
It's like that's kind of that's like a high rank, like whatever you want to call it. I don't know the word I'm looking for, but it's kind of like a high rank achievement. It's kind of like that's what you get for achieving greatness. So it's just kind of like, I didn't mind that. I've seen a lot of time. I just thought it's just that's their culture. We're in their country, and let's get it right. The World Cup was fucking phenomenal. There was not an ounce of trouble or nothing. It was a phenomenal showpiece for me from start to finish, and I just think that was just kind of like that's what they do.
It's nearly like you've read me agenda there, Tank. Because I'll stay with you, because that was what I was going to ask. Is now that the dust has settled, what have been your thoughts on the World Cup? Because there was so much in the lead up. I think generally speaking, I think the football was great. But all encompassing, what did you think from the fans to the media narratives to the stadium? Like, did you even down to the fact, the Winter World Cups work? Where's your head at, I suppose, now that the dust has settled?
I thought it was phenomenal. I did. The only slight gripe, what I would say, is some of the games didn't seem to have that big game atmosphere in some of them. It kind of like seemed flat, but as a showcase, and the stadiums were absolutely magnificent. The games were brilliant. There was not many games where, even the shitty games were really good games. And I just thought it was a complete and utter success. And, I thought our TV coverage done the best to sour the whole occasion early on in the tournament. I genuinely did. To not show the World Cup opening parade is a fucking disgrace. From whoever's thought that was a good idea needs fucking. I just thought the whole thing from top to bottom was brilliant. I did. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
What about you, Jim?
Same, mate. Like, don't get me wrong. I can understand why they did what they did at the start, because I think the country's problems, or not problems, but their views of the world are dated and quite frankly abhorrent, where they should be pointed out. But once that's been done and it's done, then you move on to the football, and the football was great. I think the football was great, and I said this to you a couple of times, is that I think because it's in winter and they haven't had a full season and full Champions League and then 2-week break before the World Cup, players look fresh. They were willing to run through walls. And I think a Winter World Cup could be better, just because players will get a full 6 weeks just to chill out afterwards. So they'll maybe pack some more games in now that they might not have had to do before.
It's going to fuck our seasons up, though.
It is. I get that, but it's once every 4 years. But I think for that 1 year, it's worth it because you'll get full intensity of all players. Where when you're back to the summer, it's going to be knackered players only had 2-week break season. Or something, and you're going to be back to waiting till the quarters and semis till you get anything decent to happen. So I'm all for Winter World Cup. I'll be honest with you, just because I think you'll get more from the players.
I'm kind of torn on a few things. So I agree with you. I actually didn't like the idea of a Winter World Cup, but that's probably more because I just have this nagging voice in the back of my head that would just keep flogging players till they collapse, and I think it's ridiculous. And this idea, in fact, I think it was Marv, listener of ours, who'd sent in a question around our thoughts on increasing the number of teams in the World Cup, and I mean, I just have this nagging voice in the back of my head that, more games at this stage is just, it's not okay for players. We're ultimately asking players to keep going to the well. They can't, they're running on empty. You've seen the injuries going into this tournament. I think it was France had a load of players missing. There was Mane dropped. There's big players missing the tournament. That's not what we want. I want to see the best players playing in the biggest games at the peak of their powers. I think there's a wider conversation around there is too much football now, in my honest opinion. But I do think off the back of this, there is something to a Winter World Cup. I don't agree with extending the number of teams in the World Cup. I think it's ridiculous. It just means more dead rubbers. It's just, we want competitive games. I know, I get the idea of probably wanting more teams to have access, but ultimately they're not going to be up to the required level. So it's nearly going to become like, the Champions League or even the Europa League, where teams are playing teams they should not be playing, and it just becomes, look, it's not worth its time. But at the wider conversation around Winter World Cups, I like it. I think, Jimmy, you're onto something. Players mid-season, fresher, more energy in the legs. But I think there needs to be a wider conversation around having less games in total, because I think the demands on players are too much.
I don't think we can judge the Winter World Cup yet on the players' legs until the end of the season. Because that's a high intensity period, what they've just had. The training twice a day. They've got many games every 2-3 days. So I don't think we can say like a Winter World Cup is better for the legs, because the players who've gone to like quite far in the tournaments, that could have a huge effect coming in the later period of the Premier League and other domestic leagues.
How does it work from, I suppose, the demands perspective? Because I was only thinking, because it's mad to think now that...
come back. Sorry, mate. I was just saying, they've probably come back and they'll have a little break now, won't they? They'll have like 4 or 5 days off, I would assume.
No, so I think it depends.
There's games tonight.
Yeah, there's games tonight. The Carabao Cup this week.
Cup, but you're not going to be playing in that. I'd be very surprised if anyone who's got to the final is playing in that. Like maybe some of the England lads, but they went home a week ago.
So this was my question. Is, I suppose, when you're looking at how squads are kind of comprised, and you look at England, for example, they pretty much stuck with a big core group, or the same core players. You look at Trent, for example. I think he played 20 minutes, was it, in one of the games. They could, in theory, Fabinho, now this is me with my Liverpool hat on, Fabinho could come in, hardly played any minutes. I'd assume they'd be playing against City on Thursday. But you're going to get a mishmash of players coming back at different times. What are the demands then, Tank, on the players? Because I would say nearly half of the squads aren't actually getting too much game time. So it's just intensity on the training field, is it?
Yeah, I mean, the training, obviously the training is going to be to a high intensity, but, the likes of Trent and that, the boys who haven't played, they'd be fine just to come back in. I mean, it's just the travelling, I know it's only a 6 or 7 hour flight, but it's the time zone. It's about 3 or 4 hours ahead or something. So, the players who's not played a lot, it'd be all right. But the players who's played and got far, they're going to feel it in the legs. They are going to feel it because they're training every single day and they're playing every 2 or 3 days. So
yeah, be interesting to see how it all pans out because I mean, looking forward, I guess to actually one final thing before we move on. I was debating saying this or not because I don't want to, but sorry. I think the little stain that I've got probably around the World Cup is the virtue signaling and stuff. It kind of annoyed me. So like the England players pretending that they cared about. Well, no, that's wrong.
That is
They
wrong.
wanted. Of course, they cared. They wanted to wear the armbands, but ultimately, then when they were told to make a stand, they didn't make a stand. Then you had Alex Scott, who had the armband on, and then it's come out in the newspapers now for the semi-final or the final. She was in an executive box that's been put on by people from Qatar, who have been fantastic hosts, but at the same time, there's just been so many mixed messages, and I just would have liked to have seen if somebody wanted to make a stand, make the stand.
Don't go. If you want to make a stand about the World Cup, shut the fuck up and stay at home and go on Twitter and your social media. Alex Scott pissed me off. She's an absolute fucking clown. She's doing all of this bollocks and everything while she's over there in the fucking lap of luxury, getting paid a nice few quid. Shut the fuck up. You went over there to work. Keep your mouth shut. Don't preach to me how fucking appalling all of this shit is. I'm at home. I'll decide if it's appalling. And, if I want to take a stand, I won't watch the World Cup. But while you're out there working, getting paid by television broadcasters in that country, lipping up the fucking laps of luxury, shut the fuck up.
I get that from
what you've got to say.
I get that from a pundit point of view because I said that before. From a pundit point of view, you've got a choice, right? You've got a choice whether you go and work there or not. From a player's point of view, you're not missing a World Cup because of where it's held.
No, I agree.
You're not
let the
doing
players
that.
play.
So if a player wants to make a stand by covering the mouth, wearing an armband, doing whatever it is that they feel is necessary, Harry Kane wore that £1 billion Rolex watch that was all rainbow coloured. That'll fine because that's how you feel you can make your voice heard. I get that. That's absolutely
say that sentence
fine.
again, though, Jim. Like this is where we're at. Harry Kane wore a diamond-encrusted bloody rainbow gold Rolex. Like, what planet is that making a stand?
I'm not saying it is, but that's what he thinks he can do. That is going to make a difference, which is fine. Look, that's fine. That's your decision. But he's not going to miss the World Cup because he's so against the human rights records and whatnot. Because no player would, and I fully accept that. So for a player making a stand, get it. Pundits doing it, nah, you just don't need to go. You don't need to go. So I'm fully with Tank on that. But from a player's point of view, from whatever stand they make, I'm absolutely fine with it. Covering your mouth, playing with your eyes closed like Pickford did against France and stuff like that. It's fine.
So, lads, one last football question before we finish on some Christmas stuff, because we've been doing this podcast for a while, and to say people enjoyed the Christmas conversation around Christmas movies would be an understatement. So we'll finish on a few Christmas bits. I just wanted to get your initial reaction, and I think I know what this is going to be, to Tank Gareth Southgate being rewarded. Well, not rewarded, but he's given us the...
he will be, Jamie. He'll have a nice new contract.
Yeah, new contract. He's going to be staying on. Ultimately failed in 3 major tournaments now, but is going to get the opportunity of a 4th. What's your reaction to that?
He's not going to change, is he? He's not going to change the way he is, because obviously the FA be speaking to them saying, we want you to stay. We're going to reward you because you've got us to a quarter-final of a World Cup, which is not the strongest World Cup, in my opinion, to be honest with you. I don't think there was any, France were a standout side. You had 4 or 5 players who actually start each game, not there. And I just think to reward him, it's just fucking scandalous. We're blessed with we had this on a podcast. England's attacking, the midfield and attacking. For me, this is the greatest generation probably ever what we've had. And I mean, I'm going back ever. I just think this generation of talent, what we've got, is fucking phenomenal. And he's failed. He's completely and utterly failed. And I just don't get why you wouldn't go out and get the best manager in world football and just offer him, even if it's a Pep Guardiola, and just say, what you want and can you make these players win? And I think that every manager would look at that England squad and go, fuck me, I could win something big with this. And I'm astounded he's being given. What's the likes of Trent not going to do? For me, he's still the best right back in Europe by a country mile. He must be sat at home thinking, I can't believe this fucking sausage is still the manager. Jay? Jimmy,
he's in deep thought, lad.
He's gone, isn't he?
He's gone. He proper gone. Who's hosted?
You take over.
No, not me.
Oh, it is.
It is, lad.
We're
I'm
back.
panicking then. I was going to have to ask some questions like, Tank, how big's your big toe, lad?
You're going to be the host for a bit there, Jim.
Yeah.
What I was going to say, and I'll mix it all in, right? Is who, before I get Jimmy's reaction on Gareth Southgate, who do you think are realistic options, though, Tank? Because I nearly feel like there's not that many options.
But there's good managers out there. There's good managers out there. You know, when you look at the Thomas Tuchel's a good manager. You know, he's a much better manager than Southgate. You know, Pochettino is a much better manager than Gareth Southgate. Would any top 6 Premier League side take Gareth Southgate as their manager? If he sacked the manager now, he would not be honest. If Liverpool, Man United, Man City, Tottenham, Arsenal, you know, if to name a few, not one of them clubs, if they sacked the manager, would go, Gareth Southgate needs to be on this list. Not one of them.
Where are you at with this, Jim? And here's a little random option that I only thought of the other day in terms of who would you get. Do you know what? Arsene Wenger. I think Arsene Wenger.
No, and
you think?
Yeah, he's been saying mad stuff, hasn't he? Like he's the one who's
on the FIFA payroll now, though, isn't he?
FIFA payroll, so he's the one who's got more teams and all that sort of stuff. So I think he's past the point of return now. I'm fit. I'm like 60-40 in this, where he's galvanized a group of players and got us to a final, a semi-final, and a quarter-final in the last 3 tournaments. We've beaten more teams in knockout stages than we have done in any years before that under his tenure.
Playing shit teams.
Pardon?
Playing shit teams.
That's not his choice, though, is it? And we've ultimately been
knocked. Jimmy, I think he's been clever. I think he's manipulated the media, and I think he's got away with fucking murder. He's very media friendly. He invites them in. He sits down. He has coffees with them. He gets the players to mingle. He's been a very clever man. He's been clever, and
but then maybe everyone else was not clever enough to do that prior to that. So, as I said, but I think as a tactician, as an in-game manager, I think he's woeful, and I think his managing of the game during the game is next to nothing. He wouldn't have the balls to drag Dembele off in the final. Ultimately, this World Cup, we got beat by the finalists that lost by 1 penalty kick. So it's a difficult one. I'd like to see. The only thing I can't, you say Tuchel, you say Pochettino, and all this. I don't think they'll do any better. I genuinely don't, unless there's someone stand out. Unless there's a Pep or a Jurgen Klopp, or I'll throw Mourinho in there because he'd win us stuff. We'd be awful and it'd be garbage to watch, but we'd win possibly. But there's no one out there where I'm going, yeah, they're the ones to take us forward. So I'm 60-40 in that it's a bad decision, but I'm also 40% thinking, you know what, he's not done that bad.
Yeah, I want Shut. I think he's a spoofer, and I think he's been the luckiest manager in terms of the teams that he's faced. But what that has allowed him to do is pad his stats basically, and claim to be this brilliant manager when actually we should be judging him on when he's played against teams in the top 10. Because that's what we want to be. And I believe his record, I think we've only beaten 2 teams in the top 10 out of, I think it's over 20 games or something stupid like that. So his record, when it actually comes to it, is abysmal. But we beat the likes of Hungary's. When we played them 7 times, we actually lost to them. Yeah, Jesus Christ! But when we go up against decent teams, we always fall short, and I think it's because of him. Now, to wrap up, lads, Christmas is upon us. Tank was doing a little bit of Christmas shopping yesterday, I believe. All done, dusted.
Fucking hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, I like it more because the kids are older and I'll take credit now, but it's just like, I mean, I'm in this room now and I can't, there's fucking boxes everywhere, presents, bags, and like, it's just, I can't stand it. I hate New Year more.
Why'd you hate New Year?
I've never been out New Year.
I've never been out on New Year. I'd always have a game.
Yeah, no, we do. Yeah, but when I was playing, we had the games, obviously. But even when I've retired now, I never go out New Year. Fuck that off. We go and have a meal normally, like a Chinese or something, go to a nice restaurant at like 7:30, and we're home for 9, 10 o'clock, and I'm in bed 11:30. I can't stand like people who you don't hear from messaging you saying like all the best and all. I'm like, I haven't spoke to you for 12 months. The last time I spoke to you. So Jimmy, don't message me all the best.
I was going to say, Jimmy will definitely leave you a voice note or something at 12 o'clock now. So first question I want to ask, and we've had a question come in from my mum, actually, which is linked,
Mrs. Murphy.
Linked to this very topic, Christmas dinners.
Oh.
So I want to know what's your ideal Christmas dinner, but my mum specifically wants to know sprouts, yes or no, and I'll come to you first, Tank.
Fucking 1,000,000%.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. What?
Sprouts.
You like them?
Mate, you've got to have them. And I absolutely adore me sprout shits after it.
No.
I love it. Guinness and sprouts. Oh, the smell, the concoction is phenomenal. You've got to have sprouts. I actually cooked a Christmas dinner. You wouldn't believe that, would you?
I don't believe it, no.
I do. Love it, mate. It's a tradition in the family. I get a slab of gammon like that, cook it the night before. We have gammon butties before bed. And then I cook the beef and the turkey. Then the gammon goes. Fucking Christmas dinner, plate like that. But yeah.
I didn't know that you were a cook. Yes. I'll be honest, I did not think that you had a Christmas dinner.
The only thing he's cooked is meth, lad.
Yes, mate. Yes. 1,000,000% with Christmas
dinner. Walter White over here.
So what's on your plate then, Tank?
Obviously potatoes, veg, fucking all the veg, sprouts, massive amount of sprouts, fucking pigs in blankets, beef, turkey, gammon, fucking gravy, mountains up, bosh. Obviously pate and toast as a starter, because that's a fucking must.
Prawn cocktail in our household.
Yeah, I'm not too keen. I like prawns like cooked, like fried, not prawn cocktail. These have that.
Yeah, I'm more the meat the better, but I'll come back to mine in a minute. Jimbo, what about you, lad?
So I'm not a big Christmas.
Your in-laws put on a good spread.
Yeah,
though.
They do a good spread. Like my mother-in-law loves cooking food. Now there's going to be maybe 6 adults eating on Christmas Day.
Yours or where? Yeah, yours, Jimmy. Or at the
no, we do it at their house, mate. They've got fucking 85 ovens. You'd be there all day, one other than the amount she cooks, mate. So she's doing like a turkey, a gammon. I think she's doing beef, all the sprouts, and then me and not this year, unfortunately. He's got he won't be eating with us, but we used to get a duck breast cooked for us as well. A little
no, not us. Breast. You get a duck breast cooked for you.
I will. It'll just be me this year. Yeah. So yeah, I'll get a nice little duck breast for my Christmas dinner as well.
So what if you're making your perfect dinner, Jim? What's your perfect dinner? And do you like sprouts? Yes or no? For me, more
perfect Christmas dinner.
Well, yeah. What do you think we're talking about?
Because you just said perfect dinner. I don't like Christmas dinner, mate. I don't like roasts. I'll give me a chip over a roast potato any day.
Okay, so what's your version of a roast dinner then? Because you're having duck and chips.
Duck, yeah. Do you not? No, I'm not having. Obviously, I'm not having chips. I wish I could have chips. So that'd be fucking. Give me a bit of Tommy sauce on there. No, I'll eat it all. Turkey. I love crispy roast potatoes. Got to be crispy. All the peas, carrots, all that sort of stuff. We have it all. But then I just have a little cheeky duck breast. It's like you can have them, don't you? Like like the 5 birds roasts and stuff. Duck's quite a Christmas tradition, I think.
Is it cool?
I think so, mate.
Brussels
sprouts look like Tank.
I'm no to sprouts. Me dinner.
No.
No to sprouts, mate. No, not at all.
Why?
Like it's not even a real thing, mate. It's just like
listen. Well, I want you to fucking have a sprout for Christmas this dinner.
I had my first sprout the other day. First sprout ever the other day.
Do you know what, Tank? I'll eat a sprout if you can say. I'm trying to think of what footballer's name.
The Dan's a myth.
Try and think
Alan San Maximan.
Yeah.
When you tell me what it is, I'll fucking say it.
That's what I mean. I'd have to tell you the name.
Yeah. No, just eat a sprout. Just get a sprout with a potato, cut it, bit of gravy on, bit of gravy.
It wasn't that bad, the sprout.
Bit of beef and suck it in.
But see what you're doing there. You're masking the shitness of the sprout by putting loads of other things with it.
I'm doing that for you, not for me.
Is that what that was? Okay,
Listen,
look, I'll have one sprout. I'll have
Tank
one sprout.
eats raw sprouts.
Raw sprouts,
on the
mate.
podcast.
Yeah, all right. So I'll have one sprout, but generally speaking, absolutely not. What do I have? All
stuffing.
The meats.
We missed stuffing out.
Yeah, stuffing is sensational.
Good.
Sensational.
Good.
Absolutely sensational. I agree completely on pate and toast, but I'd have it on. I wouldn't have it on toast. I'd have warmed, crusty bread, chopped up, pate, and then
tiger bread.
No, just like a crusty,
like a baguette.
Yeah, baguette, like. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, lads? Are you stuffing up the bird's ass or not?
My wife doesn't go for it, mate. I was going to go for something like that. I was like, is my missus going to listen to this one?
No, the serious question.
It's
a bit off-putting for me. I'm not too happy about pulling stuffing out of a bird's ass.
So but you have to do it, though. You do that, no?
No, I don't. I get the fucking Marks and Spencers in the tray and put it in the oven. It's beautiful.
I don't think we have it up the arse, no. I think it's not for me. I'll have to let you know on Sunday, lads. I don't think it's in the bird. I think it's on the side, like.
I've got so many jokes going around my head here. I'm just trying not to make them. Like
when you go to New York or something, you have an hot dog. If the fella pulled the hot dog out of his arse, you're not eating it, are you?
I don't know.
I've ate worse. Okay, so Christmas songs. So you've got your own spin on this one, Jim.
Yeah. So for me, I feel like most people's favorite Christmas song is the Pogues' Fairy Tale in New York, right? So the question I often ask is, which is your second favorite Christmas song?
Playlist. I'm gonna have to find it. I never even.
For me, I'm getting my phone here now. Top Christmas songs. So
it's either there's two for me. So it's two. That's me. Can we stop the cavalry?
That's it. It's John.
Should have been a fool for Christmas. All right, I'm going to stop that now. Where's me?
So it's Jonah Louie. Jonah Louie, that is. Stop the Cavalry. So that's my second favourite. I love that. But close, very, very close, is Driving Home for Christmas.
But you can only put that on right when it's Christmas.
When you're driving, and when you're driving, obviously.
Do you know what's a great one? It's not me. It's not my favourite. It's not my second favourite. So I'm not committing to this yet. I'm just telling you it's a fucking great one. Step into Christmas, Elton John. Put that on. That's a fucking tune, that.
Nah, that's not that great, Dad. I'm not.
You're not having that?
Nah, I like it. Don't get me wrong, but it's not even in the top 20.
I like Wham. It's a bit sad, like Last Christmas, because you think, the poor fucker, it's his last Christmas, but I do like it.
Yeah. I if I had to pick, and it goes back to me like in the Gavin and Stacey Christmas special, it's Band-Aid. I think it's good. It's a fucking cracker. And when and you have to, when you sing it, you have to do all the different types of voices. Yeah. So you sing like Boy George when Boy George is on, then you sing like Bono. And me and my missus every year, actually, don't know if you've seen the Gavin and Stacey special when they ring each other and start singing it. We ring random people from our phone book and just start singing. I don't think Jim's going to get mad now because I've never done it to him.
No,
but yeah, we ring random people.
Lad. I've never had this phone call.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. Is another one.
It's a good one, only because of Home Alone, though. That's the only reason.
Nah, it's a good song, man.
Yeah, I think they're the main ones for me. Right, so Tank, what is the worst Christmas gift you've ever received?
A fucking apple.
Like technology or the actual?
No, an apple. Like, I spoiled my fucking family rotten, and they said, their idea was to get Dad an Apple Watch. So they ordered it, and it never come. So they give me an apple. And I'm like, what the fuck? And he like, this was only 2 years ago. And I was like, what's that? And he went, well, there's your watch, but it's not coming. So we just thought we'd give you an apple. And I didn't know whether to laugh or cry at that. I was like, what the fuck?
How long did you have to wait for the watch to come?
It come on my birthday.
Never came.
The 3rd of January.
Okay.
So it was kind of like, in my head, I never got a Christmas present.
Still fuming about it.
I'm not happy. It gets brought up weekly.
Really? Never forgive them.
No, fuck that.
Jim, what about you, lad?
No, I'm fairly certain it was a Christmas present, but it could have been a birthday present. But they're very close together, so a harmonica.
Oh, fucking no.
What?
Harmonica.
Had you like displayed an interest in getting one?
No.
Who got it? Yeah.
I can't say that.
You can. Yeah, you can. Don't be a shit house. Come on.
Nah. I'm not saying that. But I've never played the harmonica. I've never shown any interest in playing the harmonica.
What was the like? You know, you sometimes if it's a bit of a risky present, you kind of give it a bit of talk around it. Did they give it you with like, oh, I can see you doing this? You know,
and this is the thing, I can't genuinely remember. So, but I remember just going like, I remember having a conversation with my wife, and what the fuck's this? Like, she was like, I have no idea. I think she was just in the. They were in the shop going, oh, I don't know what to get Jimmy. And randomly walk past the harmonica in like Burton's or something. To God, this will do.
Did you ever play it?
I blew it. Of course, I had a little blow.
Yeah, you looked a little
and then we got the harmonica out.
Bit of blue.
Yeah, go on, bit of blue.
And then I don't even know where. I don't even know if I've still got it. It stayed around for a long time, just randomly like popping up in places.
I'll be honest, mate. So I always like to tell this story. I don't know why. So this could be a thing for you. So one of our best mates, Matt, we went on a stag do to Barcelona, Tank, right? And so we all went out for dinner. What are you getting mad at me telling this story for? Or
I love it.
You mate, like it? Okay.
I'm gonna get a boner.
So all the lads went out. So we got this one lad in the group who, you know, every group's got a knobhead, but he's like your knobhead, you know, like Jimmy, basically. Actually, funnily enough, it's yeah. But he's not the knobhead in this group, to be fair. And the other knobhead had fell asleep for a bit. So we were like, right, sounds. We just go for like nice dinner and have a few drinks and a chat and not act stupid, which we usually do if the knobhead is awake. So anyway, cut a long story short, we all sat there in Barcelona having dinner. And my mate, Matt, who we've known for years, just starts talking fluent Spanish to the waitress. And like when I say we had no idea he could even speak one word of Spanish, I'm not just talking like botched English and dos agua, trying to like
cerveza, por favor.
Yeah, it was like he literally was fluent, having full on. And honestly, I've never been more attracted to him as what I was that moment. I was like, wow, Jim, that harmonica could be your.
You think just
I think
out.
So. Don't tell anyone. You learn it, lad, and then. Let's say, for example, me and Tank are talking about Christmas songs here, and then all of a sudden you go, top drawer, open up your top drawer. Wait there a second, lads. Yeah. What song's this? And then...
Stop the cavalry.
Imagine that. I think we set you a challenge. You've got a year to learn the harmonica.
Give me 1 year, and I'll be harmonica'd up.
I'm up for anything what goes in his mouth and shuts the fuck up. Quiet. Learn it.
I just want to be in the middle of a podcast and like every time Tank gets someone's name wrong, Jimmy can be like, okay, and then Jimmy. So you give us yours. Mine
what's yours? Man?
So it's my auntie Fran, God rest her soul, right? So she was notorious for giving the odd mad presents here or there, and there's this 1 year. So you remember Calvin Klein, right? So you'd have like the big C.
Remember, like what? They just
the brand
disappeared.
You know what I mean? Like,
remember Calvin Klein back in the day, lads? They're fucking still around, mate.
So you might have heard of them, Calvin Klein, right? So you have the big C and the big K as the logo, right? But she got me a t-shirt this year, and instead of it being CK, it was like CZ, Comfort Zone. And I was like, what the fuck am I? Like, she said to me, she's like, oh, you're not going to put that to the bottom of the wardrobe now? And I was like, oh, no, definitely not. So yeah, that was my one, Comfort Zone t-shirt that was trying to be Calvin Klein. So that was
at least be like KC or something like that. KZ. Fuck
yeah, Comfort Zone. So that was probably mine. Final one, lads, before we wrap up. What's your agenda on Christmas night, the evenings? Like, are you a board game, family? Are you sit down, watch TV, Christmas specials? Are you late night boozers, karaoke? What's your lay of the land, Tank, on Christmas night?
It depends. If it's just us here, we just probably have a few little games, especially with Frankie now. But we do normally have a few little games. The Monopoly's being out.
Yeah.
But I've got to be honest with you, lads. I'm a serial cheater on Monopoly.
Oh yeah.
You
and I'll fucking swindled out, and I'll get me get out of jail free card and all of that. I'll just drop it all the time. So there's kind of like there's a few issues. So we had to. The Monopoly was getting too violent. We had to squash that. We've got Operation this year.
Brilliant. Absolute classic. Make it drinking operation as well. Every time you touch the silver, you gotta drink something.
It's a belter.
Yeah,
great game.
So that could be coming out.
Yeah, great. What is it? It's the wishbone, isn't it? Wishbone's an absolute nightmare to get.
Yeah, it's a
Jimbo. What about you?
We're big gamers. We are. We play games every night. We play.
Your missus is competitive now.
We're all competitive. My son's the worst. He loses shit, and then our youngest, he's getting pretty bad now. But we play Uno every night before. It's our routine. We have to play Uno before bed. It's like we play games, quizzes, everything. So we have 3 Christmases. We do. We have like 3 big Christmases, and there's quizzes, everything, competitions. That's what happens when you're married to teachers. Like, all my wife's family are all teachers, so they're all like PE teachers, competitive. You have teams, we have like picture rounds, we have physical challenges. It goes mental, mate. You know what they're like.
Games.
Yeah. I'd say you excel at the physical games, Jim. That's your bag.
But you have to mix it up. Like, not everyone gets to do the same one. So, like, have you ever done the stalk test?
No,
where you stand on one leg and you have to put like your other leg up and balance, and you can't move. Like, as easy as it sounds, have a go of it. It's not easy at all. So it's like,
especially with a couple of Baileys into you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you start drinking early on most days. So yeah, mate, we go full bung. I love it. Love Christmas.
I find Christmas fucking knackering, lads. I don't know about you. By the time I've had I just love the booze, and like, my missus has got a massive family now, and we host. So we're hosting again this year. So, you're up early with the kids and you're getting all the dinner sorted. So my general rule is I'll run around, pick people up and whatever. But once I'm back, I'm like, right, Dad's sitting down and boozing now. You know what I mean? And I'll still be sat there come the end of the night. I'm probably moved on to Bailey's at this point. Songs on, singing, bit of karaoke. That's me and me happy place. Bit of Westlife on the karaoke, Jip. I've got that in the
nice. Yeah, you've got it. A bit of Mustang Sally if you're feeling
Mustang
a
Sally. Exactly. Right, boys. With that, Jesus, how long did we do there? We went over the hour.
Yeah,
it's good though.
Go us. I enjoyed that. Right, lads. I'll be speaking to you before, so I don't need to particularly wish you a Merry Christmas. But for the sake of the podcast, I hope you have a brilliant Christmas. Are you hoping for any particular presents, or are you at the stage now where it's just undies and socks and apples?
Yeah, that's it. I'm hoping the crackers. That'll do me.
Any present I'm asking for is Tank's camera to break.
Right, on that note, everybody listening, what are we now? So Christmas, Boxing Day is Monday. We'll see if we get a podcast out on Boxing Day. People
might throw an early one out. We could throw an early one out Boxing Day.
It'd have to be very early, but
we'll see what we can do. But we probably won't speak to you before Christmas. So make sure everybody that's listening has a bloody great Christmas. Enjoy your time with your families. It's precious. So make sure you make the most of it. And we will be back with you soon on the Boot Room Podcast. All the best.
Take it easy, boy.
Merry Christmas, everyone.